Today, we are going to practice some questions from Part B of your reading subtest. So before we start our practice, let's have a look at what Part B is all about. Out of your 42 questions in OET reading, Part B has 6 questions. You'll be reading 6 short texts on different subjects. Part B focuses on workplace communication and asks you to understand the purpose, main idea or a specific detail of the text. Usually, you get to read memos, manuals, notices, guidelines, emails and policy documents. Your questions are 3-option MCQs and you need to choose the most appropriate option as your answer. After you complete Part A of your reading, you get 45 minutes for attempting Part B and C. So, I'd recommend you to spend around 13 minutes for Part B. Now, let's move on to our practice. Have a look at the question on the screen. So, from the question, we know we are going to read a memo. So, what are memos? Memos are very common among our workplaces and it usually conveys an update or a reminder about a procedure or a policy. It's also clear in the question that we need to find out the purpose of this memo. So let's take a minute and read and understand the question displayed on the screen carefully. I believe all of you have read the text, so let's look into it to make sure that we have understood everything. From the heading, it's clear that the memo talks about spillages in the emergency department. So what does the word spillage mean? It means the act of spilling liquids or fluids. Which brings us to the text. Let's have a look at the first sentence. It says, preventing falls is the most important thing in an ER and lately there have been concerns about spillages of fluids, particularly hot drinks from the vending machines. So this essentially says prevention of falls is very much important in the emergency department and lately people have been spilling hot fluids. Moving on to the second sentence, it says when such an incident happens, the assistant on duty needs to follow the already set protocol and they need to warn the patients and others about the risk of falls. Secondly, they need to place a sign and mop the area using a tissue before they call the cleaning personnel. Once the area has been cleaned, they can remove the sign. So, these are the things that an assistant on duty needs to do when somebody spills something in the emergency department. The final sentence of the text says, if there is a possibility that a patient might cause a spillage, you need to provide them things to prevent it and inform the responsible staff. Essentially, the whole text talks about how prevention of fall is important and what are the things the assistant on duty needs to do when somebody spills something. And finally, if they feel like a patient might spill something, what they need to do. We have read the question, we have read our text and we have clearly understood what the text conveys. So now we are going to choose our answers by looking at the options. So what we are going to do is, we will read the option, understand the meaning, then we will reject those options that conveys something that's not at all given in your text. Then we will also reject options that conveys exact opposite of what is mentioned in the text, or something that is incorrectly given. What remains would be our answer. So now let's have a look at the options. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Please read the question that's displayed on the screen. So from the question, it's very clear that we are going to look at guidelines this time. So what are guidelines? I'm sure as medical professionals you are very much familiar with the term, because guidelines usually tell us what to do or what not to do, or how to handle a certain situation. So in the question, they have asked us to figure out what the guidelines are trying to establish. So now, as before, take a minute, read your text and understand the meaning. So we have read our question and we have understood our text very clearly. So now let's have a look at the option and try to understand what the guidelines are trying to convey. That brings me to the last text for today. Let's try something different now. You can see your next text, question and the options on the screen. Take 2 minutes. First read your question, understand it, then read your text. Finally, read the options and choose the most appropriate option as your answer. That's 2 minutes. I hope you have found the answer. Our answer is option A. That has been our last question for today. I hope this was helpful. We'll see you soon with another video. Till then, take care. Thank you.